Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Feeling is Not an Option. Happy Sunday to each and every one of you, wherever you are in the world. Let's get ready and let's take a dive into these two aspects of family therapy. How can we tell the difference between the two? How can we identify them when we see them in some of our practice questions, or if we even see it on the real live MFT National Exam? So let's get started with the first one, circular. So this is the one where it's kind of like a ping pong effect with the two individuals. As you can see, you have A and B that's in the parentheses, but there are those two arrows that are going this way, which lets us know that means that it's back and forth with one another versus the linear one that we're going to talk about later. So when it comes to circular causality in the family therapy realm, we need to understand how each and every one of the family members within that system influences one another in a relational context. And that means, how does your brother and sister influence one another? How do you and your sibling influence one another? How does your mother and father? How does you and your relationship with your mother influence someone else, right? So we're ultimately talking about the interactions and those feedback loops that occur within the systems, whether if it's going to be that negative feedback loop or that positive one, because each and every one of the behaviors that we have with each other, it influences, but it is also influenced by others. The relationship that you have with that person, when it's circular, is mutual and it's ongoing. It's constant, right? It looks at the patterns, not the blame. The child does this, the parents does this, the child does this even more. That's circular. A impacts B, B impacts A, and so forth and so on, right? Everybody's behavior is mutual, it's ongoing, and it maintains the cycle. Now, that's it for circular causality. Don't try to look deep into it. It's not anything that you need to go in depth with. It is what it is. It is what I just said. So why don't we just take a deep dive and let's do some questions. Which question best reflects a circular causality perspective in therapy? Now remember, we said that circular causality, it doesn't matter who blames who. It's all about how it's being influenced and who is keeping it going. How does it keep going? Who is the one that's keeping it going in the argument they are having? But it's not so much like, oh, who started it? So it doesn't matter who started it. Who's in it? Your brother and sister is in it, but it doesn't matter who started it, right? What happens in the family right before the argument, and how does each person respond? I like that. Why is your child acting out? That's not a circular causality perspective. Get rid of it. Which parent is to blame? We've already said that circular causality does not look at the blame when it comes to it. So take a look at B. What happens in the family right before the argument, and how does each person respond? Now, it's not asking who started the argument. It is asking what happens in the family and how does each of them respond. It might be your brother and sister that's doing it, but who's to blame? It doesn't matter because it's mutually influenced. You could be in an argument with your mother or your father. It doesn't matter who started it. Each of you mutually influenced each other and is continuing to keep the system going, right? A therapist notices that whenever a husband criticizes his wife for spending too much money, she withdraws emotionally. In turn, the husband feels ignored and becomes even more critical. The therapist views this as an example of what? It can't be linear because A just didn't impact B. A impacted B, B impacted A, and it's keeping going. It's not homeostasis. Nothing here is being maintained. We've actually had some escalation that's going on in the system. One person does something, she withdraws emotionally, husband feels ignored, and then he becomes even more critical. That's not homeostasis. It's not morphogenesis. There's nothing in here about having growth that's happening, and the family is able to just like keep the integrity of the family and to keep moving on with the growth. No, what we have here is B, circular causality, right? The husband criticizes his wife because she's spending too much money at the Croc store. She withdraws emotionally. Then the husband is feeling ignored. Well, since you're talking about how much money I'm spending at the Croc store, how about this? I'm just going to withdraw emotionally. But then in turn, the husband feels like she's ignoring him. So he's going to become even more critical. A influences B, B influences A, and it keeps going back and forth, right? Which of the following statements aligns with circular causality? He's aggressive because his father yelled at him. Nope, that's linear. A impact B. Her withdrawal leads to criticism, which leads to more withdrawal. I like that. The child misbehaves because of poor parenting. Nope. A impact B, and that's it. She feels depressed because she lost her job. Nope, A impacted B. Go look at B. He withdraws. Her withdrawals leads to his criticism, which leads to more withdrawal. That is circular. A impact B, B impact A, and just keep going in a cycle. All right. A family seeks therapy for their 10-year-old daughter defiant. The therapist observes that when the daughter refuses to follow directions, her mother becomes upset and she yells. The father then steps in to calm the mother down, which allows the daughter to avoid the consequences. The therapist views this problem through the lens of what? If we go back and we look, we see the therapist observes the daughter refuses to follow directions. The mother yells and becomes upset. The father then steps in, and then all of a sudden now she doesn't have any consequences, right? Because the father stepped in and calmed the mom down, right? Is it linear, focusing on the daughter's opposition to behavior? Absolutely not. It's not just about the opposition to behavior. It's about the pattern that's going on. It's not just focused on that opposition to behavior, because we need to be looking at those interactions and those behaviors. That is circular causality, okay? Circular causality focuses on interaction patterns among family members. I just said that, so B might be the best answer, but let's look at the rest. Family projection, focusing on the parent's anxiety. Nothing was mentioned about anxiety, so don't add to it. Don't go adding stuff that's not there. Individual pathology, focusing on a child's emotional dysregulation. Again, circular causality, linear causality is about the patterns and the interactions and the behaviors. It has nothing to do with like the emotional dysregulations or whatever. We're looking solely at those interactions among the family members, making B your best response, focusing on the interaction patterns among the family members. Okay? Alrighty. Let's get into linear. Linear is about the same as circular when it comes to like explaining it. Don't be trying to be looking for no deep, in-depth answer response, because take it for what it is, okay? A impacts B, that's it, that's all, okay? Now, when it comes to the family therapy realm, it assumes that one event directly causes another. It's straightforward. One-way relationship, cause and effect. This is the one where it focuses on who or what started the problem, the cause of it. The child acts out because the parents argue. A impacted B. The parents are the one that causes the child's behavior. That is it. That is all. Don't go try looking into deep of it. We can check our understanding, but let's do just a minor review with just the differences between circular and linear. It's nothing too much to be looking far away into, so let's look at it. Linear, one way, cause and effect. Circular is going to be more like it's reciprocating. A impacts B, B impacts A. It goes back and forth with one another. The focus is cause and effect for linear. Interaction and the feedback is circular. The question that in linear, who started it? Who is to blame for this? But for circular, how is it keep going? How many times are you guys going to keep arguing with each other over and over again and keep it going, right? We have family systems theory. That is what it's most likely going to be used for. And the goal is for what? For linear. We need to identify the identified patient, the problem person. But for circular, there are relationships, patterns that are keep going, that is mutually influenced, that is continuing these circular patterns to continue to occur. Makes sense? And I can share this chart. No worries. Don't worry about it. I will get it all over to you. Let's take a practice with some linear questions really quickly, okay? Linear causality assumes what? That behaviors are part of a feedback loop. One event directly causes another in a straightforward sequence. Problems are maintained by interaction patterns, or family systems self-regulate to maintain balance. Now, we just got finished talking about what linear causality does, right? It's straightforward. A impacts B. One event that is directly going to cause another in a straightforward sequence. B is your best answer. Cause and effect. Always think cause and effect, right? Which of the following is a limitation of linear causality in family therapy? It ignores one-way cause-effect relationships. It overemphasizes feedback loops and cycles. It may blame one individual and overlook complex system interactions, or it causes on interactional patterns instead of the individual behaviors. Now, what is the limitation of linear causality? Remember what we just said. Linear causality focuses on the blame. who is the person for us to blame for why this situation keeps occurring, right? It doesn't ignore one way cause and effect, because it is a cause and effect relationship. So A have to be out. It does not overemphasize feedback loops and cycles, because linear causality is not about that. That is more circular. It focuses on interactional patterns instead of individual behavior. Nope, that's your circular. So C is your best answer. It is going to look for that one person to blame as to why this argument, why this situation, why this escalation just keeps occurring, and then it's going to overlook the complex system, right? Because in family systems theory, what is it? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We do not believe that one person is the cause just for this. Some way, somehow, that system is mutually influencing one another, meaning that it's not just one individual force to blame. C is your best answer. A couple comes to therapy because their child refuses to eat dinner. The mother says he refuses to eat because I didn't make his favorite food. The therapist focuses only on this single factor as the call. What is this therapist using? Now, we've gone through this. It's quite simple and easy, right? We know it's not circular. There's no A and B in fact an A. So it's going to be what? It's going to be your linear. He refuses to eat because she's not making his favorite food. Mom, can you please get this kid some food that he or she likes? Now, we know it's not morphogenesis. There's nothing in there about growth that is happening with therapy, and then they're doing it at home, implementing some of those new techniques and stuff that they're learning. We know it's not differentiation of self. It's nothing in there that's about separating thoughts from your feelings and everything. So we know that's incorrect, leaving us to be linear causality. Which question reflects a linear causality perspective in therapy? How does your partner usually respond, and what do you do next? Nope. Who started the argument? Yep. What patterns keeps this behavior going? Nope, that's circular. How do your actions influence each other in this cycle? Circular. A, C, and D are circular. B is your linear. Who started the argument? That is linear. That is the difference between linear and circular. Now, this sums up linear and circular. I hope this makes sense. It's nothing to really look that in depth to. It's very, I want to say, very superficial with how you explain linear and circular. Once you see it in a question, I'm hoping after you watch this video, if you see it in a question, you will know better how to respond and find the best answer to that question. Remember, linear is a cause and effect. A impacts B. I'm yelling because she made me mad. That's linear. And then if you were to be looking at circular, when she yells, I withdraw, he thinks that I'm ignoring him, so then he's going to yell even more. That's circular. That's the difference between linear and circular. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, like always, please leave me a message in my comments or send me an email from YouTube. I see people are emailing me on YouTube, and I am missing some of those emails. I apologize if I did not see that email. If you feel as though you've sent me an email and I do not send it again so I can check it out and see, or leave me a comment and I will most likely see the comment that you leave me. Sometimes my email box is very flooded, so it's kind of hard sometimes to kind of like get a handle on all of them. If you feel that this video or my channel helps you in any way to move forward with passing this exam, please leave me a super thanks, or please donate to help me buy more materials, buy more study guides, more study programs, more test banks, in order for me to continue to help people get across this finish line. Have a very, very happy Sunday evening. Bye, everyone.